So sparking creativity is something that I think is important because, as I mentioned before, like I really think that creativity is very important for us. And I think that there are side effects of stifling it and not letting it out. I think it kind of builds up inside us and makes us feel yucky when really it's supposed to come out and make us feel good, like make us fuel us and help us kind of figure out a little more who we are and what kind of things we think about and come up with. And one of the first things I can remember that really started sparking creativity like crazy in me, it started being like a wildfire at this point for me, was when I started disassembling stuff. And it started because there was this big, weird, clunky piece of furniture that I had, and I live in one room, and I was trying to make space to dance, and it was in my way, and I didn't really use it. It was like left over from my previous place I lived, where it kind of fit into the room in a different way. And it was like it was going to be such a hassle to try and get rid of it. And I was just like, if I break it down into smaller pieces, then I can just get rid of it a little bit at a time. And it was some kind of dresser thingy, but like I saw where there was a bunch of screws. So I just randomly, like, I had no idea what I was doing. Like, I am not somebody who knows furniture or knows any of that kind of stuff. I was just like, there's screws. I see screws. I'm going to start unscrewing them and then maybe it'll just come apart. It definitely was not quite as easy as that. But once I got the screws out and there were lots of different little things. Like I took the drawers out and then I was able to like see how to take the drawer slides out. And then basically as I was pulling it all apart, and I definitely had to use like the like hammer and screwdriver and like kind of like as a chisel to pry a couple parts of pieces apart, I started to get ideas for stuff. The first idea I got was totally a flop, but it was probably like the craziest and dumbest thing I've made. I made this, I call it the 1,000 pound dance floor. Because it was like I was trying to be able to dance in my room, and I still hadn't figured out my trick for dancing on carpet yet. And so I was trying to like I was like all these, as I was taking it apart, I was going to get rid of it, but then there was these flat pieces of wood, and I was like, I wonder if I could make like a dance floor. I wonder if I could just make like a little floor thing. I'll like if I secure these on some kind of like a mat, because I'd gotten some mats for dance that weren't working quite well enough, but like and so I decided to take all of these pieces of wood that were about the same thickness, and I puzzled them all together, and I made this floor from them that was so heavy. It was like ridiculously heavy because I didn't really think about how heavy wood is when I came up with the idea, and I thought it would be really easy to like move it around the room, but it wasn't. And I actually, in order to move it, I had to use like I had these rolling pins that I took the center part out and put like a string through so I could like put the rolling pin underneath it and like roll it on the rolling pin to the other side of the room. And so it was just so heavy. And it was like it kind of worked as a dance floor thing, but it was just it's not what I had had in mind. I'd had in mind something that would be easy to move around my room and not like stub my toe on every few minutes. And I totally thought it would be like, I don't know, maybe 20 pounds. I didn't realize it was going to be like, I cannot lift this. So, anyways, that was one of my early ideas. But the other thing that really started to spark ideas in me was when I discovered drawer slides. Like, I love drawer slides. It's funny, I made a video for my other channel forever ago about like my little love story with drawer slides. I'm getting all kinds of cool ideas for what I love these things. Drawer slides. I think drawer slides are freaking amazing. I love drawer slides. Just found drawer slides, so I can take these these drawer slides that I love drawer slides. Brilliant invention. Cause love drawer slides for reals. Love drawer slides. They're just dope. Because as I reviewed so many of my different videos I was making while I was making different things, making my mirror box, making different furniture and all that, I just kept hearing myself say over and over, I love drawer slides. I freaking love drawer slides. I was like, wow, I really love drawer slides. But they just give me so many ideas because there's so many things. Like I've used them to, like I've mounted like the the track part on like the wall and made it and then used the actual drawer slide that goes through the track and put like different like things to mount my phone, to mount lighting, to mount all kinds of things so I can just slide them off and on. It's really easy. Like they just give me a lot of ideas because they're just convenient. Um, The other things was just little tiny pieces of wood or little pieces of hardware that gave me ideas for things that they looked like in miniature. And so that kind of fed into me starting doing some stop motion stuff because I started noticing how certain things look like little people, or and I made little puppet things. And so it just really started me noticing things. And then also it gave me ideas for furniture because I started to understand a little bit about how furniture was put together and what like and the things that I knew that I needed, like for the stuff that I do, like the work table that I made and that kind of stuff. Like I was able to kind of just see how to do it a little bit. I'm not saying I make like fancy furniture, but I make functional, like for myself, like using other furniture. Like, because that was the one thing is I'm like, I'm not going to start from scratch making furniture, but like for example, my work table, the base of it is two drawers from the same dresser. So they're the same size. Everything's already the same size, you know? And then I used a cabinet door thing for the top of the table and it works fine. But the wood is all pre-cut, so I don't have to completely start from scratch. But I can get the functionality I want just from using things that were already measured to scale with one another. You know what I'm saying? I'm not sure if I'm saying that right because I'm really not a professional at this stuff. I just figure things out. But and then the other thing was disassembling computers and stuff. I love doing that. And I will say that I do have a little history of working in IT, so I'm a little more familiar with some of the things. And there are a couple things you have to be careful of, but especially like no, I would not ever recommend disassembling a CRT screen, like the big, thick, heavy ones, like the non-flat screens. Those ones can hold on to electricity a lot longer and be a little bit more dangerous. But flat screen ones, you just have to be cautious, like go slow and careful because there are like basically like little fluorescent light bulbs in there and in the backs of flat screen TVs that you don't want to break because there's like mercury and stuff and they're just like a regular fluorescent light bulb. But as long as you're going slowly and not like smashing it with a hammer, they're pretty easy and interesting to take apart. And there's just so many interesting little parts inside. And for me, I'm a person who, when I see something, I think of what it looks like. And I just have a really active like imagination that way, I guess. When it's something I don't really completely understand, I can see it as something totally different. Like, oh, that looks like a little office inside of my computer, or whatever. And there were lots of little screws, especially in the flat screen things. There's all these little teeny tiny screws that are flat that have been really useful in making the puppets that I make. Like, because they're the right size, they're really short screws, and so like they like for little tiny thin wood things, they work really well. And and there were lots of honestly little pieces of like circuit board and stuff that I used to make puppets with because I cut some of the wires and it looked like a little mustache and I wanted to try making a puppet from it. And so, but when I started doing that kind of stuff, like disassembling things and taking things apart, it really made me like, first of all, it was uncomfortable because I'd never done it before. And there was just this part of me that was like, I'm not supposed to do this. I'm not supposed to take these things apart. I'm not supposed to break them apart, and getting that voice to shut up was a little bit of a win in and of itself to just be like, well, I don't know. Let me just do it. It's my stuff. I don't care. Like, and for me also, we have in my neighborhood, a big trash pickup where people throw things out. And so I've gotten a lot of monitors and stuff to disassemble that way. And, and it's just like but it makes me think in a different way. It just like kind of sparked a whole new pathway in my brain because I was doing stuff I'd never done before. And like, and nobody's teaching me. So I'm not getting it right or wrong. I'm just doing it by myself and figuring it out. And it was kind of an adventure in a way, but it totally sparked new ideas and creative thinking. It was kind of like by doing some of the things that I always been like, you're not supposed to do that. It was like my brain was like, oh, we can do some of that stuff. And then it's like, I've got so many ideas that we've been thinking we're not allowed to do. And so anyways, that for me was like a good starting point, was just taking stuff apart and being interested and curious in how it works and being a total dingbat with like whatever I try and do with it or how I take it apart, just figuring it out. And like, I don't know, like some of the ways I did it later on, I was like, oh, this would have been way easier if I'd known how to use this kind of tool, but whatever. It was fine. The way that I did it was a learning experience, and that's a win.